Look around you. Right now, in this very moment, countless individuals are doing exactly what everyone else is doing. They're following the crowd, blending in, hoping somehow they'll stand out. But here's the remarkable truth I'm about to share with you. Excellence doesn't whisper, it thunders. I've spent decades studying success, watching people rise and fall, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that there's one principle that never fails. When you become so good that others simply can't ignore you, success becomes inevitable. It's not just a catchy phrase, it's a natural law, as certain as gravity. The last time you experienced something extraordinary, maybe it was a meal that left you speechless, or service that made you feel like royalty, or a performance that moved you to tears. Did you have to be convinced it was excellent? Of course not. Excellence announces itself. But here's what most people don't understand. 95% of people are content with being average. They do enough to get by, enough to avoid criticism, enough to maintain their current position. They're the ones who say, "That's good enough." But good enough is the enemy of greatness. I see it every single day, people arriving at work right on time, leaving right on time, doing exactly what's expected, nothing more, nothing less. They wonder why their lives aren't changing, why opportunities pass them by, why others get promoted while they stay stuck. The answer is simple but hard to swallow. Mediocrity is comfortable, but it's also costly. Every time you settle for average, you're paying a price. It might not show up on your paycheck today, but it compounds over time. The cost? Lost opportunities, unfulfilled potential, dreams that slowly fade away. When you choose ordinary, you're choosing to be replaceable. Let me tell you about two employees I observed at a manufacturing plant in Detroit. Both had the same job, same pay, same starting point. One did exactly what was required, no more, no less. The other studied the entire manufacturing process, learned every machine's function, understood the business inside and out. Within 3 years, guess which one was running the entire operation? Excellence demanded attention. It always does. The truth about mediocrity is that it's crowded, it's comfortable, it's safe, but it's also invisible. Nobody remembers average. Nobody seeks out average. Nobody pays a premium for average, yet most people choose it every single day, not through conscious decision, but through their habits, their choices, their willingness to settle for less than their best. Excellence, on the other hand, creates its own spotlight. When someone performs at an extraordinary level, word spreads, opportunities appear, doors open. It's not magic, it's cause and effect. Excellence demands attention because it's rare, valuable, and impossible to ignore. I remember talking to a young man in Chicago. He was frustrated because he wasn't getting ahead in his career. "I do everything they ask," he told me. I asked him, "But what do you do that they don't ask?" His silence was deafening. You see, being so good they can't ignore you isn't about meeting expectations. It's about shattering them. The gap between mediocrity and excellence isn't talent, it isn't luck, it isn't even intelligence. The gap is effort, attention to detail, and the willingness to do what others won't. While the majority is asking, "What's the least I can do?" excellence asks, "What's the most I can become?" Every single day, you have approximately 16 waking hours. That's 960 minutes. What if you dedicated just 60 of those minutes to becoming extraordinary at what you do? 1 hour of focused, dedicated improvement. That's just 6.25% of your waking hours. But that 1 hour, compounded over time, creates an unbridgeable gap between you and the average performer. The path to being extraordinary isn't complicated, but it is demanding. It rests on three unshakable pillars that I've observed in every single successful person I've studied over the past decades. Let me share them with you. The first pillar is continuous skill development. Most people stop learning the moment they become competent. They reach a level where they can do their job adequately, and they park there. But extraordinary performers, they're obsessed with improvement. They understand that in our rapidly changing world, if you're not getting better, you're falling behind. I know a salesman in Minneapolis who reads one book about his industry every week. He studies psychology, communication, market trends, and technology. His competitors think he's crazy. Who has time for all that reading, they ask. Meanwhile, he's outselling them 3-1. Why? Because his knowledge compounds. Every book, every article, every study adds another layer to his expertise. But it's not just about reading or studying, it's about deliberate practice, the kind of practice that makes you uncomfortable, the kind that forces you to stretch. I've watched musicians practice the same passage hundreds of times. I've seen speakers rehearse their presentations until every word, every gesture, every pause is perfect. That's the difference. Excellence isn't an accident, it's a habit. The second pillar is unwavering dedication. This isn't about motivation. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. This is about commitment, about showing up every single day, especially on the days you don't feel like it. It's about maintaining your standards when no one is watching. I remember visiting a bakery at 3 a.m. The owner had been in business for 30 years, and every morning, every single morning, he was there, checking the quality of his ingredients, testing his recipes, ensuring everything was perfect. Why? I asked him. Nobody would know if you cut a few corners. He looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. I would know, he said. That's unwavering dedication. This kind of dedication means saying no to good things so you can say yes to great things. It means sacrificing immediate pleasures for long-term excellence. It means working while others are sleeping, studying while others are socializing, practicing while others are playing, not because you have to, but because you choose to. The third pillar is strategic visibility. Now, this isn't about bragging or self-promotion. It's about ensuring your excellence is noticed by the right people at the right time. The world is full of hidden genius, talented people who remain in obscurity because they believe great work speaks for itself. But here's the truth. Even a lighthouse needs to shine its light. Strategic visibility means documenting your progress. It means sharing your insights. It means contributing to your field in ways that add value to others. I knew a computer programmer who started writing about his solutions to complex problems. He wasn't trying to become famous, he was just sharing what he learned. Within 2 years, companies were fighting to hire him. His excellence became visible. These three pillars work together. Skill development without dedication leads to untapped potential. Dedication without skill development leads to stagnation. And both without strategic visibility often lead to frustration. But when you combine all three, that's when you become unstoppable. The most successful person in your field, I guarantee they embody these three pillars. They never stop learning, their dedication is unquestionable, and their excellence is visible to those who matter. They didn't get there by accident. They got there by design. The beautiful thing about these pillars is that they're available to everyone. You don't need special talents. You don't need powerful connections. You don't need an Ivy League education. You just need the willingness to build these pillars brick by brick, day by day. Start with skill development. Pick one aspect of your work and become the absolute master of it. Then add another, and another. Let your dedication show in the consistency of your efforts, in the standards you maintain, in the promises you keep. Make your excellence visible through your results, through your contributions, through the value you add to others. Remember, extraordinary isn't a destination, it's a direction. These pillars aren't boxes to check, they're practices to maintain. When you commit to them, you set yourself apart. You create a gap between yourself and the average that grows wider every single day. The price of excellence. Let me tell you something important. There's no such thing as a free ride to the top. I've watched thousands of people over the decades, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that excellence demands its price. And that price must be paid in advance. First, let's talk about time investment. Most people don't understand the true nature of time when it comes to excellence. They want overnight success. They want instant results. But that's not how it works. Excellence requires what I call the unsexy hours, those hours when nobody's watching, nobody's cheering, and nobody's giving you credit. I met a chef in San Francisco who caught my attention. His restaurant was always packed, his food exceptional. I asked him about his journey. You know what he told me? For 15 years, he worked from 4 a.m. to midnight, perfecting his craft. While others slept, he tested recipes. While others partied, he studied under master chefs. While others took vacations, he worked holidays to learn from the rushes. The time he invested wasn't just about being present, it was about being present with purpose. But here's what most people don't realize about time investment. It's not just about the hours you put in, it's about the quality of those hours. 1 hour of focused, deliberate practice is worth more than 10 hours of mindless repetition. You must invest your best hours, your peak energy times, into becoming excellent. Sacrifice and commit. You must develop what I call excellence calluses, the mental toughness to handle criticism, rejection, and failure. Because make no mistake, on your path to excellence, you will face all three. The question isn't if you'll face them, it's how you'll respond when you do. I've watched countless talented people crumble under pressure because they hadn't developed this mental fortitude. They had the skills, they put in the time, but they couldn't handle the psychological weight of excellence. You see, when you become excellent, you become a target. People will scrutinize your work. They'll question your methods. They'll criticize your success. You must develop the mental strength to stand alone. Because excellence often means being misunderstood. It means being criticized by people still choosing average. It means being doubted by those who haven't paid the price you're willing to pay. But here's what you need to understand about mental fortitude. It's not about being tough all the time. It's about being resilient. It's about getting back up one more time than you fall down. It's about maintaining your standards even when no one would know if you lowered them. I remember a writer who received 147 rejections before selling his first book. Most people would have quit after 10 rejections, maybe 20. But he understood something crucial. The price of excellence isn't just about the physical toll, it's about the mental game. He kept going, kept refining, kept believing. Today, he's a best-selling author, not because he was the most talented, but because he was willing to pay the full price of excellence. And here's the truth about the price of excellence that most people don't want to hear. The price must be paid every single day. You don't pay it once and own it forever. Excellence is rented, and the rent is due every day. But here's the good news. While the price of excellence is high, the cost of mediocrity is even higher. The price of excellence is paid up front, in time, in sacrifice, in mental toughness. But the cost of mediocrity is paid at the end, in regret, in what-ifs, in unfulfilled potential. That the next time you're deciding whether to put in those extra hours, whether to make that sacrifice, whether to push through that mental barrier. The price of excellence never gets easier, but you get stronger. Let me share with you one of the most powerful principles I've observed in the pursuit of excellence, the compound effect of quality work. Just like compound interest in your bank account, small improvements in your work compound over time to create extraordinary results. What happens when you improve just 1% every day? Most people dismiss such a small improvement. What difference can 1% make, they ask. But here's the magic. That 1% compounds. Over a year, you're not just 365% better, you're exponentially better. Small improvements stack on top of each other, creating a foundation for even greater improvements. I once watched a violinist practice the same 4 measures of music for 2 hours. Each repetition was slightly better than the last. A minute adjustment in bow pressure, a tiny change in finger position. To the untrained ear, the difference between the first play and the 100th might seem negligible. But these small improvements compound. 6 months later, that same violinist was performing at Carnegie Hall. Quality work creates a momentum all its own. It's like pushing a heavy boulder. At first, it seems impossible to move. You push and push, and nothing seems to happen. But you keep pushing, keep applying consistent pressure, and suddenly, almost imperceptibly at first, the boulder begins to move. Once it starts moving, it becomes easier to keep it moving. That's momentum. I remember talking to a software developer who spent an extra hour every day documenting his code meticulously. His colleagues thought he was wasting time. Just get it working, they'd say. But month after month, his code became more reliable, easier to maintain, easier to build upon. While others were constantly fixing bugs in their old code, he was building new features. His small daily investment in quality compounded into a massive advantage. The fascinating thing about quality work is that it creates its own audience. At first, nobody notices. You're working in obscurity, focusing on excellence when nobody's watching. But quality has a way of getting noticed. One person tells another. Word spreads, opportunities appear seemingly out of nowhere. This is what I call the recognition snowball effect. It starts small, maybe one person notices your exceptional work, they mention it to someone else, that person checks out your work and is equally impressed. They share it with their network. Suddenly, your excellence isn't just being noticed, it's being sought out. I've seen this happen with a graphic designer who refused to deliver anything less than her absolute best, even on small projects. Every piece was portfolio quality. At first, it seemed like overkill. But then something interesting happened. Her clients started showing her work to others. They began fighting for spots on her calendar. Her rates doubled, then tripled. The quality of her work had created its own marketing campaign. But here's what's crucial to understand about the compound effect. It works in both directions. Just as excellence compounds into more excellence, mediocrity compounds into more mediocrity. Every time you choose to deliver work that's good enough instead of excellent, you're not just affecting that one piece of work, you're affecting your standards, your habits, your reputation. This compound effect also creates what I call excellence momentum. When you consistently deliver quality work, people start expecting excellence from you. This expectation becomes a positive pressure that drives you to maintain and exceed those standards. Your reputation for excellence begins to precede you. I've watched this happen with a restaurant owner. Every single dish that left his kitchen had to be perfect, not just good, perfect. Over time, this commitment to quality created a reputation that spread throughout the city. Soon, people weren't just coming for the food, they were coming for the excellence they knew they could count on. The beautiful thing about the compound effect is that it's available to everyone. It doesn't require special talents or advantages. It simply requires the willingness to focus on quality consistently, day after day, week after week, year after year. It requires the patience to keep pushing that boulder even when it seems like it's not moving. Remember, every piece of quality work you do today makes tomorrow's quality work easier and better. Every excellence habit you build creates a foundation for greater excellence. Every standard you maintain becomes a stepping stone to higher standards. The compound effect of quality work creates what I call an excellence gap. This gap between you and average performers grows wider every day, every week, every year you maintain your commitment to quality. At first, the gap is barely noticeable, but over time it becomes so wide that catching up becomes nearly impossible for those who chose the path of mediocrity. Think of it this way. Every time you choose excellence, you're not just affecting that one moment, you're affecting every moment that follows. You're not just building a piece of work, you're building a reputation, a standard, a legacy, creating your personal blueprint for excellence. This isn't about vague goals or wishful thinking. This is about creating a concrete, actionable plan that turns excellence from an idea into a daily reality. Let's start with daily practices. Excellence isn't achieved through occasional bursts of brilliance. It's built through consistent, deliberate actions performed day after day. Your daily practices are the building blocks of your excellence blueprint. Every morning before you start your workday, spend 30 minutes on what I call excellence preparation. Review your goals, plan your priorities. Most importantly, identify one specific area where you'll push for excellence today. Be precise. Instead of saying, I'll do better work. Say, I'll review every report 3 times before submitting it, or I'll spend an extra hour mastering that new software feature. I knew a businessman who started each day by asking himself one question: what's the most excellent thing I can do today? Not the easiest thing, not the most urgent thing. The most excellent thing. This simple practice transformed his entire approach to work. Your daily practices must include what I call skill stacking time. This is dedicated time for learning and improving specific skills that matter in your field. The key is consistency. 15 minutes of focused practice every day beats 5 hours of cramming once a month. Measuring progress. You can't improve what you don't measure. But here's the catch. You need to measure the right things. Don't just measure outcomes, measure actions. Don't just track where you are, track how far you've come. Create what I call an excellence scorecard. List the key areas where excellence matters in your field. Rate yourself honestly in each area on a scale of 1 to 10. Update this scorecard monthly. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about identifying opportunities for growth. I remember a teacher who kept a detailed log of her lessons. She didn't just note what she taught, she recorded student engagement, questions asked, light bulb moments, and areas of confusion. Each week, she reviewed this log and adjusted her teaching methods. Within 2 years, she was recognized as her district's Teacher of the Year. Your measurements should include both leading and lagging indicators. Lagging indicators show your results, sales made, projects completed, goals achieved. Leading indicators show your excellence-building activity. Your excellence blueprint must include regular time for relationship building. Schedule it. Make it non-negotiable. But remember, this isn't about collecting business cards. It's about building genuine connections with people who share your commitment to excellence. Create what I call excellence partnerships. Find someone who's pursuing excellence in their field, even if it's different from yours. Meet regularly. Share challenges. Celebrate progress. Hold each other accountable. The specific field doesn't matter. Excellence recognizes excellence. Your blueprint should also include what I call reflection anchors. Regular times when you stop to evaluate your progress, adjust your course, and recommit to excellence. I recommend daily, weekly, and monthly reflection points. At the end of each day, ask yourself, did I move toward excellence today? Each week, review your excellence scorecard. Each month, evaluate your relationships and adjust your skill-stacking priorities. Remember, your excellence blueprint isn't set in stone. It's a living document that grows and evolves as you do. What worked last year might not work this year. What challenges you today might be easy tomorrow. Keep updating your blueprint to match your growing capacity for excellence. The key is to make your blueprint specific and actionable. Don't say, I'll work harder. Say, I'll arrive 30 minutes early to prepare thoroughly for each meeting. Don't say, I'll build relationships. Say, I'll reach out to one industry leader each week with a thoughtful question or valuable resource. The mindset that makes excellence not just possible, but inevitable. Everything we've discussed means nothing without the right mental foundation. Your mind is the control room of excellence. Mental programming starts with one crucial understanding. Excellence isn't something you do, it's something you become. It's not about putting on a show of excellence when people are watching. It's about rewiring your brain to reject mediocrity as completely as your body rejects poison. Your mind will fight this at first. It's programmed for comfort, for safety, for the familiar path. That's why you must actively reprogram it through what I call excellence affirmations. But these aren't feel-good statements you repeat mindlessly. They're declarations backed by evidence of your commitment to excellence. Instead of saying, I am excellent, say, I choose excellence in every action I take. See the difference? One is a claim, the other is a decision. Your mind responds to decisions backed by action. Self-talk mastery. The conversations you have with yourself shape your performance more than any external factor. When you make a mistake, what's your immediate internal response? Most people default to self-criticism, but excellence requires constructive self-talk. I worked with a surgeon who taught me a powerful lesson about self-talk. After every surgery, whether it went perfectly or had complications, he would ask himself the same question: what can I learn from this to become even more excellent? Not what went wrong, not who's to blame, but what can I learn? Visualization isn't just about seeing yourself succeeding, it's about mentally rehearsing excellence in vivid detail. Before every task, take 30 seconds to see yourself performing it with excellence. Feel the focus, see the precision, experience the satisfaction of excellent execution. The excellence mindset also requires what I call standard setting. Your standards must be non-negotiable. When you say you'll deliver excellence, it's not a goal, it's a promise. To yourself first, then to others. Your word to yourself must be unbreakable. Remember, your mind will believe what you tell it consistently. Program it for excellence. Talk to it about excellence. Visualize excellence. Make excellence your only acceptable standard. Your mind will resist at first, but persist. Excellence becomes inevitable when your mindset demands nothing less. The time for average is over. The time for excellence is now. Make your choice and make it count. Because in the end, we're all remembered not for what we intended to do, but for what we actually did. Look at your hands. Right now, in this moment, you hold something precious, the power to choose excellence. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready. Now. Because here's the truth that most people never grasp. The perfect moment for excellence is always the present moment. Your life will be defined by the standards you choose right now. Not by your circumstances, not by your background, not by what others expect of you, but by what you demand from yourself. Excellence isn't a someday thing, it's a this moment thing. Don't wait for permission to be excellent. Don't wait for recognition to be excellent. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity to be excellent. The world needs your excellence now more than ever. Every moment you wait is a moment of potential excellence lost forever. Take personal responsibility for your excellence. Stop looking for someone to show you the way. Stop waiting for the right conditions. Stop making excuses. Your excellence is your responsibility. No one else can create it for you. No one else can choose it for you. The urgency of now cannot be overstated. While you're waiting for the right moment, someone else is creating excellence. While you're planning to start tomorrow, someone else is excelling today. While you're making excuses, someone else is making progress. Rise up and become so good they can't ignore you. Your time is now. Remember, being so good they can't ignore you isn't just a strategy for success, it's the only reliable strategy for lasting success. Everything else is temporary. Everything else can be taken away. But excellence, true excellence, endures. Make excellence your legacy.